Hey, what is going on, everyone? This is Dorrani, Sherif, and Dom from VG247.com. Boys, how are you?
All right.
Yeah, not too bad,
very good.
Good. So, big news yesterday, massive news. Microsoft has agreed to purchase Activision Blizzard. So, games like Overwatch, Diablo, Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Candy Crush, and StarCraft. Do you know what Candy Crush? Yeah, people need to realize how big of a game that is to have under your belt. Also, the studios that come along with it. So, Treyarch, Ravensoft, High Moon, Beanox, Sledgehammer Games, Infinity Ward, Demonware, Toys for Bob. What does Toys for Bob make? I don't know.
They used to make Skylanders. Now they're on the Call of Duty salt mines.
Okay, so that deal, this acquisition deal, is $70 billion.
Almost.
And I feel like almost. So it's was it 68?
68.7 now.
Yeah, 60. Listen, $70 billion.
$70 billion.
It's so much money. It's so much money. It makes you realize how deep some of the pockets are, right, with some of these companies, because it wasn't too long ago Microsoft purchased Bethesda.
Yes.
So they just have money spare, it seems, just money spare. What are you guys' initial or first thoughts about this whole situation?
I remember when we covered the news that Microsoft bought Bethesda and ZeniMax, parent company, and we were like, "Oh, that's so much money, $8 billion! Oh, wow! How can they afford that? That's wild!" And then just on a random Tuesday in the middle of January, we learn that they've dropped 10 times that amount on Blizzard, Activision Blizzard rather. And obviously there's some big names there. Big Call of Duty, Candy Crush, and some of the social stuff is the big draw, and you can see why they've dropped that money. But it's a lot of money to recoup or get back or whatever else. And even if that is even if the deal goes through, which with competition law and everything and that kind of thing in America, it remains to be seen, because the Bethesda thing for a little while was touch and go. So
this deal doesn't complete until next year, right?
Yeah.
So it's not final.
They're saying, they're anticipating it around June 2023. That's when there will be, assuming they clear all the hurdles, like the regulatory stuff and all that stuff in the US and Europe, because those companies operate across the two continents. Then they will be officially owned by Microsoft around like summer of next year.
Yeah. So you said the acquisition of Bethesda was $7 billion, did you say?
Yeah, around that.
$7 billion. Do we have any more other comparisons? Do you guys know any other like gaming acquisition prices, just for like comparison's sake? Because from $7 billion to 70 is
like the thing that comes to mind is like the other week Take-Two acquired, or they revealed their intent to acquire Zynga for 12.7 billion, which, like, again, that looked a lot at the time, because you compare that to Bethesda, which was 7.5 billion. Like, oh, really? You're paying that much money for like a mobile kind of Facebook gaming company? And then now you look at this and it's like it dwarfs both of them. And I was looking this morning at like Microsoft's own history with acquisitions, which they have been on kind of a spree for like the last 5-6 years. They have acquired a lot of companies, and I think if you look at pretty much everything they acquired, it's a little bit over the money they paid for Activision. So everything they have combined, which is GitHub, LinkedIn, all the stuff they did for games, Bethesda, Minecraft, which was like 1 billion something like years ago, and that seemed like a lot of money at that time. All the stuff they paid for all the smaller studios like Double Fine and all these smaller acquisitions, everything basically adds up to just a little bit over the money they paid for Activision Blizzard, which is insane. Like, this is like, I don't think I have seen, and maybe someone who's been covering this for longer than I have, I don't think there's not just a bigger figure that's been paid to acquire like company acquiring another company in the games business, but also something with, like, this would be on the level of what people used to joke about of like Xbox acquiring Sega when Sega was going out of the console business. Like, I don't think they would have paid that much money for Sega at that time. Even adjusting for inflation, they probably would have paid like maybe like 3-ish billions, which would have been like 6-ish billions now. Like this is massive. Like the only other thing that would top this in my mind is like Microsoft buying Nintendo or something, which is
that is it. And do you know it's funny? I'm gonna skip to it now because it's at the bottom of my notes. But I'm gonna bring it up again. What is Sony and PlayStation's move now? Because the next thing Sony can do is buy Microsoft. Basically, that's what Sony has to do next. So. Yeah, 70 billion is a lot of money, right? Yeah. But why? Why has this purchase gone through, or why has this happened?
If I've got a theory that is probably not rooted in any kind of business sense or anything, but the way that so as part of this press release, Microsoft announced that they've also got 25 million people subscribed to Game Pass, right? That is the big thing that they've dropped in the middle of this press release that hasn't had its own sort of like separate announcement. That to me, and for the last sort of 2 or 3 years, we've been seeing Microsoft really push its subscription service, and it treats it as its own product. I reckon, especially now that they're going to have Activision and Blizzard games on Game Pass, that we might see Game Pass evolve just past an Xbox platform. So Xbox might start offering that onto, bake it into TVs or something like that, similar to Luna and Stadia, or with
they've got the infrastructure for it as well, right?
Exactly, with the is it the Microsoft Azure and the cloud and the way that works?
Yeah,
for sure.
Which they've got. Who knows? I mean, we've even seen Xbox games come to Switch, right? In the way that it's gone. Apart from Minecraft, which is the outlier, you've got things like I think Cuphead was they worked with Microsoft to get that on Switch. Am I right in thinking that?
Yeah.
Yes.
So Xbox is clearly willing to jump onto other platforms in some way. So now that they've got all the Call of Duty, like if you look at the charts in the last year, like Call of Duty games that make up like the top 1, 2, 3 games in American charts in the States for sales on PlayStation. It's a massive revenue stream for Activision Blizzard, and I don't think now that Xbox owns that, they're going to necessarily want to get rid of that. So are they going to offer a Game Pass on a PlayStation console? Maybe are they going to like offer streaming? Are we going to have like are we going to boot up a Call of Duty game on PlayStation and have an Xbox Game Studios flash as we boot it up? Like what is this other world that we've wandered into with this acquisition? But I think Microsoft's general plan must be to offer these games widely and just kind of harvest the profit that comes from that rather than keep it all to itself and keep it on the Xbox. That's obviously just spitballing. I don't know. I'm not a businessman. But I think that seems to be the most sensible case forward in my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why though? But say for example, because I think the general consensus, if you're not like super clued up, or if you are a little bit clued up, is that Activision needed a saving grace basically for what they were going through, and because of all of the sexual misconduct allegations going on there, and Microsoft is stepping in to sort of like give them new management, and of course it's beneficial for Microsoft to own these massive games, but it's also like we can fix you guys.
I think there are two sides to this, kind of two things to consider. There's one, which is why would Microsoft acquire a company as big as Activision to begin with, which to me is always going to feed into like the ever expanding, like never ending battle for content, which, this is what the Embracer Group is doing, acquiring all these many different studios. Everyone is kind of hoarding money, hoarding studios and hoarding talent for the inevitable content wars, I guess, which is basically what Netflix has been doing for years on the streaming space. That's why they're leading, and HBO Max is trying to get people with like day and date movies. This is what Microsoft sees the future being, and they think that if they're positioned to have a lot of the games that people love and a lot of the IPs that people love now, they're going to guarantee them showing up 10 years from now, like for Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 4 or whatever. This is all their long-term plans. And if they have that, and if they're putting everything, as Dom mentioned, on every platform, then you really have no choice but to play. Like you can't avoid all of that content. It's not just, I don't care about Hellblade, I don't care about Gears of War. You don't care about Call of Duty. You don't care about Crash. You don't care about Tony Hawk. Like all that stuff. Like there's just too much. Like they're gonna get you at some point on some platform, on some avenue. Right, so it's always the battle for content. Like I'm sure they care about Xbox, and I'm sure they care about PC, but they care more, I think, about like having Game Pass be just a big banner for big video games and small video games, but just video games in general. like like they're kind of basically they're eating around Sony instead of like going at it directly. Because they can afford it, so they're kind of leaving it into their own place, but they're kind of buying all the land around it, and Sony's going to have its own like island with The Last of Us and whatever, which is amazing and cool, but they're just not going to be on the same level. Which I don't think Sony can afford to butt heads, with Microsoft on that level. The other element of that is the, I guess, opportunistic kind of side of that is Activision stock dropped significantly and has been dropping since the acquisition, since the allegations last year. And Call of Duty Vanguard not hitting didn't help. So they have been kind of like on a downward spiral since, I want to say, like April last year. So it's been dropping, and then Call of Duty came out and people were like, oh, it's going to recover again. And it's been dropping. So if you were someone like Microsoft looking to buy content and Activision is losing all of this value in this short span of time, you pick up the phone and say, hey, you guys looking to sell? Which, according to Bloomberg, is what happened. Like Spencer got in touch with Bobby Kotick, and it was like, you guys looking to sell? So maybe at a different time, maybe off the back of, like, let's say the success of Modern Warfare, they probably would have paid like 120 billion for that thing. So there's also like the element of it of like, if we could get this for that much, we're getting a great deal. They also they still need to do something about the mobile space, which they have been kind of absent from for never really cracked. And King gives them that. Candy Crush is massive, is a massive part of Activision. Even bigger than Call of Duty microtransactions. So they're really like, there's a bunch of sides to that thing that is, you can only imagine like the thinking that was in that room.
I think something you mentioned there as well about the King side of things and Candy Crush. In the game space, we've got a tendency to call it Activision Blizzard because that's what we see it as. But the company itself is more commonly known in the more industrial space as Activision Blizzard King. And it is just such a huge part of that company that is easily overlooked. And now you're seeing Microsoft go onto the cloud gaming stuff and try and get on your phones more readily. Maybe they can actually offer mobile games like native as well as console games to play on your phone, just to make the Xbox app an even more delicious prospect to people that don't own a console, like going forward. Which is getting a lot more players, like potentially in the millions extra players that way by reaching more mobile centered markets. Which
I agree.
Don't have. Sorry.
Yeah. Now I was gonna say what Sherif said. He mentioned some games that are sort of might not be at the forefront of people's minds when they think about this acquisition. So people always think about the Call of Duties, the Overwatch, Diablos, but this is 30 studios and teams. I think it's around 30 studios and teams. And there's a lot of games. There's a lot of games that people might not be thinking about straight away. What do you guys know? Any of the games that are? I know you've done a feature. You've done a feature of some of the games.
What's going to come up? Some stuff that I'm personally excited about that I'd love to see come to Game Pass or another series of. I know for a start we should give a shout out to Tom Ori here and Blur, because he's definitely going to want Blur 2, the big racing game that he is.
Blur 2.
And then for me personally, remember Geometry Wars back on the 360? One of
yeah. That's the twin stick, right? That's the what are they called? Bullet hell, like twin stick bullet hell sort of vibe.
Yeah. That. I mean, we've got 3 games for that were once upon a time synonymous with Xbox, or at least the live arcade side of things. Seeing them come back could be great. I'd really enjoy. I'm a massive fan of Guitar Hero, so seeing something.
Oh man!
Whether it's, I don't know what Microsoft would do in terms of making the peripherals again, because you can't really play that without the add-ons.
Yeah.
But getting something, whether it's the old games back with a new peripheral or a new game or a new title, that'll be sick. And obviously Microsoft's got the cash to license whatever they want at that point for songs. So, that'd be great. And I still can't quite get my head around Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, because I used to play a lot of Crash. I tried to speedrun Crash for a little bit. It's like properly like my kind of game. And he was a PlayStation mascot, right? He was synonymous with PlayStation once upon a time in every sort of major market. And now he's owned by Xbox. It still hasn't quite settled in my head. I still can't quite get my face around the idea that Crash will be running around with like an Xbox cap on or something. It's bizarre. I'm excited.
Well, he's been around long enough now. Crash is an old man now. He said, "Do you know what? I've got to change it up. I've got to go somewhere else and see what it's like on the other side." This is how he lives on. Think of it this way. This is how Crash lives on.
In my head, it's a bit like Johnny Rotten going and doing butter adverts. You know what I mean? It's like the ultimate sellout, like going and going, oh yeah, cool, I'll go to Xbox, why not?
I think they have enough characters now to make their own Smash Brothers. Like they have between their own stuff and the stuff that they bought just these past few months. Like I think they can make a roster pretty solid.
Was there any more before I move on?
Well, like as a classic shooter fan, Activision would never have greenlit like a modern Heretic or Hexen, which Raven Software now, because when everyone is making Call of Duty, there's really, but I think now Microsoft could, which they own that now, so they can give that IP back to Raven and maybe make like a modern reimagined Hexen or Heretic. There's a bunch of things like that, like Toys for Bob are now doing Call of Duty. Maybe Toys for Bob could work for like a Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts revival. Like they like that. They have that vibe. They have that. Forget Crash and forget Spyro. Maybe there's like some friction there with PlayStation, but like there's a lot of like dots that you can connect of like studios doing nothing but Call of Duty because that's what Activision is making. That now have an opportunity to maybe do something else, which like to me is the most exciting thing about this.
Yeah.
Something that you said earlier, Sherif, was about Toys for Bob being in the Call of Duty salt mines, which I really enjoy the imagery of. But for the longest time, Activision have been accused of taking quite good studios, even Vicarious Visions and the guys that worked on the incredible Tony Hawk's remakes. What happened like 6 months later? They got slammed into making Call of Duty Warzone content and assets. Is Microsoft going to go in and pluck some of these studios with their talent away from that now that maybe they can afford to bolster up some of the dedicated Call of Duty studios and give other studios back to more creative products? I'd like that. I'd like to see that happen. I think that could be a big upswing and a big positive that comes out of this deal.
Yeah.
Vicarious Visions are the ones who done the Destiny port when it first came out on PC, if I remember correctly.
They used to do a bunch of like kind of support stuff. Them and High Moon kind of do like there was kind of work for hire, like they helped Bungie kind of shore up its content problems back when Activision was publishing Destiny, which is actually kind of funny. Like you look back on that stuff now, it would have been kind of
they
weird.
Could have owned Destiny.
They could have in a roundabout way. They could have owned Destiny, and maybe it could have gone differently now that Activision is, Microsoft is all buddy with Bungie again.
Oh my god!
Yeah, the things that could have happened.
Do you think that like the Destiny team are now thinking like, holy crap, man, what if we stayed? What if we stayed?
Yeah.
We could have so much money. We could have had unlimited funding. Holy crap.
But I think Bungie have got in their pockets. They've set up a whole new European studio that's dedicated to like extra game stuff. So it's not just games, they're doing like other media based out of Holland, I believe. So there's big things going from Bungie, and also they're pally, as Truth said, with Microsoft anyway, because a lot of their stuff goes on Games Pass as soon as the new content comes out. So maybe there is some sort of synergy still cracking off there.
Hopefully. So another thing as well is that a lot of the Activision games are cross-platform currently, right? What happens going forward with like their biggest games, like Warzone? We know that Call of Duty as a whole, Call of Duty, the main series, the main multiplayer, is a shadow of its former self these days. It's not as big as it once was. But will we see things like the Call of Duty in 2023 be Xbox exclusive? Do you guys have any thoughts about what happens there?
I think people when Microsoft acquired Bethesda, people were like, "Oh, no way they're going to pull Skyrim. No way they're going to pull Starfield." And then 2 weeks later, they were like, "Yeah, Starfield is exclusive." I don't think they can do this with Call of Duty. I still believe that Call of Duty, for the foreseeable future, which let's say in the next 5 years, will be available on as many platforms as it is available on now. They're just going to, if they launch it into Game Pass day and date, this is just their way of saying, you don't have to pay $70 for Call of Duty, guys. You can just get this thing and play it here, or you can get it on PC, where Game Pass is also available. But we're just going to keep it on PlayStation because we love the community and we love all the money that you guys pay. But I don't think they pull Call of Duty from its biggest platform overnight. Like I think even Microsoft, with their infinite money, they still need to justify and make back some of that 70 billion that they spent. So for the foreseeable future, I think you'll see some stuff locked, but then I think it's going to come to Call of Duty and stop, and then maybe try to entice players to jump to Xbox in other ways. I don't think we're going to see like exclusive content, which is like, like a free map or whatever. I think that stuff is like the ship has sailed on that stuff.
Yeah.
I think we're going to say just full on, you can play this on Game Pass day and date. Why are you paying $70 for this on PlayStation? It's right here. And this will like kind of chip away at their lead in that way. But like pulling it out, right? No, I don't think it's Starfield. I don't think it's a Starfield situation. That's my take on it.
Yeah, the crossplay stuff now is so much more not crossplay, cross-platform situation has simmered down from what it once was because of crossplay. We can just play with whoever we want these days. I think it would be silly if they said, nah, PlayStation, see you later. It would be, do you know what? For the gamers, it would be a nightmare because people are going to have to go out and buy new systems. But I believe that if they done the rug pull and said, okay, Call of Duty is an exclusive now, I believe people would actually go out and buy an Xbox. Well, I firmly believe people would do it.
Think of the value proposition, right? Say you want to buy, I don't know, 4 Activision Blizzard games per year. Even in the last few years, right? The Crash Bandicoot Collection, Crash Team Racing, a Call of Duty game per year, and Diablo Remastered, right? Say that's $70 a go. If you go and drop what $350 on an Xbox Series X or something, if you're getting a Game Pass, within about a year or two, you've got that investment back based on the games you're getting for free via the subscription. So that might be how Xbox is looking at it. We want the hardware sales. We want to get you onto our platform, lock in a subscription from you for the next 18, 26 months, whatever. And then you're paying off. I look at games, even working in this industry, at $70 a go and think, oh, that's a bit steep. It's hard to justify that, especially like, 1, 2 a month or something like that. It's a large portion of my wage that isn't spent on rent. So having something like Xbox and Game Pass, but especially now they're getting more and more and more AAA games getting on there, even casually speaking to some friends that have talked to me about this over the last 24 hours, like 3 or 4 of them have said, oh, maybe I should get an Xbox. Like, it happens that quickly.
That's exactly what they're doing. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah, Xbox is really, I think, last generation, I'm not sure if you guys would agree, that they like sort of sat dormant. They sort of like laid in wait because PlayStation were like, we've got The Last of Us, we've got name some PlayStation exclusives. My mind's gone blank now. We've got God of War, we've got Days Gone, we've got Horizon. Oh, they all came back to me just
no one said we've got Days Gone ever. No one ever said that. No one's ever said that.
They had exclusive. That's what PlayStation were known for, right? They said, we have all of these exclusives. And Microsoft were just like, shit, man. Like, what are we going to do? Halo. Yeah. Halo.
I love Halo 5 and Halo 4, by the way. Just, but the caliber is different.
This is Forza. The Recore erasure right here.
Oh, yes, Recore as well. But
Recore's all right.
Is this now the time where we can see what Microsoft were doing and their strategy and their plan actually come into fruition now? Because it seems like they're playing a long game and some 4D chess maneuvers are going on right now because people don't see the business side of things. Because I feel like in the next 5-10 years, they're going to be on top, and
well, look at this year's release slate. Like when it comes to Microsoft big games, we've got Starfield. Like I can't think of anything off the top of my head, and I do this for a living, like day in day out. Like that's the big Microsoft game that's coming in.
Yeah.
And then what? So we're still in that point of gestation. We're still in the point where Microsoft has bought all these studios in the last sort of 3-4 years, and we're starting to get to Microsoft and Spencer repeatedly said, we're going to give our studios time. We're going to give them the creative resources they need. We're not going to rush anything out. And that's all well and good, but we've got Hellblade, the new Hellblade, and Starfield.
Looks incredible.
And that's kind of...
I don't know. I don't know if Hellblade is going to hit this year. It looks like one of those that's going to be, like out in like next year or whatever. I think this year we definitely going to get a Forza. I think the reboot of Motorsports is this year. The Arcane Austin game, the vampire thing game, I think that's this year for sure. But yeah, Starfield is the big one for them. For sure.
And so, like, that's part of their strategy. Like, they've made a big, even E3 a couple of years back. Here's all these like CG trailers for what we're working on, but what else? Whereas Sony have been a bit more like frequent in their cadence and putting things out. We've got Horizon on the horizon and things like that, and I think Microsoft have got a lot to come, and I think it's going to be a really, really strong generation in the 2 or 3 years time for them. And in the meantime, we've got Games Pass that's just got constantly new cool things coming to it. Like I've got both. I've got the three. I've got the Series X and the PS5, and I barely touch my PS5 anymore, just because the Xbox has got everything I want to play on it. Even the new Nobody Wants to Save the World from Drinkbox, like that hit Game Pass. I was going to buy that, but now I don't need to. It's right there for me day one. Like Sherif said, day and date. Like the value proposition for an Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription is, you'd be foolish not to take it, I think, as a gamer. So
there's an argument that always comes up. It's like, but I want to own my games. But I'm not sure about you guys, but I'm not a big replayer of games. I'm not a big replayer at all. I'll play a game, I'll experience it. Like, I'll speak about The Last of Us 2 all the time, and I'll be like, this game is fantastic. I've done podcasts, whole podcasts about The Last of Us. And but I've never replayed it. I played it once, experienced it, and I'll never go back. And I sold it almost straight away after I completed it. But it's still there. And I feel like more people don't realize that they don't actually replay their games. So owning the game physically, or just so it's on your purchase history, it doesn't actually matter. And Xbox Game Pass, because of course when your Game Pass subscription ends, your games disappear, right? But how much is Xbox Game Pass yearly? I think it's about 100 and
it's 10 per month or 15 per month for Ultimate. But probably get
but as you said, games are now £70. So for one, why not pay £30 more and get hundreds of games? And it's not just indie games. This is big budget stuff. So as Dom said, the return on investment, the value for your money is insane, is incredible. Man, big acquisition.
I'm a big Halo nut. I've played all the Halo games, put a lot of time into Halo 3 multiplayer back in the day. It's just kind of my era. And I've not even bought Infinite. I've got Infinite, and I play Infinite. I finished the campaign. I play the multiplayer more or less every day. But I've not bought it. I've not put any money on top of my subscription into that game. I bought the Battle Pass, I suppose. But
and that's how they got you.
And that's how they got me. And that's how they make money back. And if they want people to come into the game, into their services, and then spend little bits of money like that, that's the future of gaming. And people complain about microtransactions, but I'll more than happily spend a bit of cash on a microtransaction like that than pay $70 for a game that I'm disappointed with and feel like I've been shortchanged for in the long run. And Game Pass is a great way of countering that quality for cash argument that so many games are having these days. I think Microsoft has really hit the nail on the head with this, and I'm really excited to see what they do this generation and how they sort out Activision Blizzard's culture problem to deliver better products.
Let's speak about that. Do you want to speak about that? The culture at Activision? Would you guys like to?
I think. Well, first of all, obviously none of us here are lawyers, so I don't know how the who's going to be fighting the state of California now. Is it going to be Microsoft now showing up to court, or is it still going to be Activision? That stuff is unclear for me. Do they take ownership after the acquisition is closed? Because right now it's just we want to do this. Maybe it's not complete yet. But also the other side of that is, Microsoft has had its own issues with culture, toxic culture, specifically in the Xbox division, on the scale of the bottom being maybe Activision and Ubisoft, and then the top being Xbox. Yeah, they're pretty decent, just judging by just the reporting that goes on, and they have a lot they have a lot of responsibility to turn this ship around for Activision Blizzard stuff, but also they have the experience to maybe have a concrete actual plan to do, rather than Bobby Kotick's catching up with the employees is oh no, don't do unionization, he will give you this, don't do this, we'll give you this. Xbox maybe has a longer term actual way to deal with that stuff, and I think they should and they must, because right now there is a rotten part of this apple that you're buying, and if you leave it to fester, A, it's going to destroy the apple, which is your investment, and B, it's going to look bad on Microsoft's why are you buying these people who have all these problems and not planning to do anything. So I need to go, like, when they actually get their hands on it, like before they switch from Slack to Teams, they need to get people like, here's what we actually need to do on that stuff. Because like, I don't think there's any way for them to retain all that talent unless they come in and say, guys, we're the good guys. Look, listen, we're going to do, listen, here's what we do. Yeah, that stuff is imperative that they do that before they think about Call of Duty or any of that other shit.
Yeah, they got a save face.
In the release they put out yesterday, Microsoft's press release that they did on their side, they didn't directly mention Kotick in the Xbox Wire, but they did have a very thinly veiled like note towards it and say that they're striving for both employees and players for a more inclusive environment and a more inclusive thing. I think it says a lot of their intent that they put that in that press release, that they're like, without possibly interfering with an ongoing case in America, so they can't explicitly reference it. They're saying something along the lines of, look, we know, we're aware of this bag of shit that we picked up, but we're going to sort of like try and deal with that and step around it and sort it out in the best way that we can. I think, and also Spencer put in that gaming leadership team graphic he put in the press release, there's no Robbie Kotick head in that. So at least there's someone somewhere is canny enough to know what they should and shouldn't be showing at this early stage of the acquisition.
Yeah. Do you think they handled the PR of this whole thing well, or?
I think Microsoft did.
Yeah.
I think they could have made some more explicit statements. They could have said, like, and we will usher in a new era without X, Y, Z at the head, taking away the whole upper echelon of execs and everything. But I think, again, they've got to be very careful in what they say legally at this point, because the acquisition has still not gone through. I think hinting towards it is good. It's a good start. And meanwhile, on the Activision Blizzard announcement side of things, they made an explicit reference to, like, and Bobby Kotick will be here. It's like, oh, okay, fine.
Oh, yeah. I think it would have been bad PR for them if they were to address everything all at once, like everything that happened, just put all of it out. It would have taken away, because I think Microsoft are quite like happy with the purchase, but then they don't want all of that stuff to like form a shadow over it. There's also something I wanted to speak about, which is Twitter exploded yesterday. Sherif, I know you're not on Twitter.
I'm aware of Twitter.
I know you know what Twitter is, but I know you don't. You're not on there. But it was mad yesterday. It was crazy. Everyone's speaking about it, and I only saw a handful of people actually mention, like, yo, we can't actually forget what happened not 6 months ago with this Activision company. Like, everyone, oh my God, $70 billion. But I'm like, okay, but are we forgetting? And yeah, that's just something I wanted to say. I want to shout out the people who said, yeah, but this is nice, but remember, this is nice, but remember. Yeah. That is it.
Yeah, and I think in the grander scheme of things, it's not actually nice, because the more we consolidate this business, the worse, like, in the long term, it's going to get, because everyone, like, fewer companies owning more than they have ever owned before in everything, really, in games and entertainment and all that stuff. That's just, like, ultimately is not healthy.
Monopoly, you mean?
Yeah, well, the consolidation in general, like, Disney owning Fox and owning that stuff. Like, I'm sure it's cool for, like, Wolverine to show up in, like, the next Avengers or whatever, but realistically, competition is being eroded by the fact that all these companies are just acquiring more and more and more. And like 5 years from now, maybe Sony is the only, like, it's Sony and Xbox, and everyone else is either working with them or already owned by them. Like, imagine that. It's not a future, I want, I understand it'll be amazing for Game Pass value and all that stuff, but, like, it should not be, like, acquiring Double Fine is fine. Acquiring, these smaller studios is fine, because, it's not a lot of money, and those teams are kind of, they've been doing a lot of work over the years, and some of these, founders are tired, and they want to, it's okay for, like, Tim Schafer to cash out, I feel, but not for Bobby Kotick. I think, Bobby Kotick himself, the person notwithstanding, we need, like, someone with the weight and size of Activision to be independent. to be answering to their own investors and not to Microsoft or to Sony, so they can make these decisions and do the stuff. But this is the world we live in. So at least it didn't go to like some Facebook metaverse or something. At least it's a company that has an interest in like gaming and cares about it, or like someone at the head that understands this business, and not some just weird, like nebulous, like content ideas of, oh, the metaverse. What the hell is a metaverse?
I mean, on that, like we've seen Amazon making a meaningful push into this industry, right, with New World and with its own acquiring Twitch and everything. And you're saying, like, Facebook and Metaverse is a big gaming component of what its future plans to be. So I wonder if this is also Microsoft shoring up against these other big players that are trying to muscle into the space, and Microsoft being like, well, now look how big we are. We've effectively just doubled the worth of our company in buying, like say, the acquisitions and stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't like the idea of this consolidated industry where there's 3 mega corporations vying for your attention. It's not exactly the cyberpunk future, not in a cool way with arm blades and stuff.
Yeah.
It's looking dystopian,
right?
But it's quite deep. It's quite deep. Like, even with Sherif, I never thought of it like that. Going into this conversation about there could just be 2 companies in 10 years who could this be PlayStation and Xbox? Or you never know, it could be Amazon versus Xbox. Amazon could buy PlayStation or something weird, because who thought on a Tuesday that Microsoft were going to buy Activision? Who knows anymore? Who knew Microsoft
like, where's the
$70
ceiling?
billion?
Like, what's the limit on that stuff?
Exactly. Sorry, Dom, I think I cut you off. You was going to say something.
Kind of saying it like, I say, like, what? There's no rules anymore. But this is completely eradicated any expectation or understanding I have of how this industry works. And I like to think I know a little bit about how this industry works.
Exactly.
And it's like, oh, okay, fine. What's going to happen tomorrow? I'm going to buy, I don't know, Sony. That'll work. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah, like, what's the limit? Like, what figure is too high? Like, it's like 70 billion is not high. Like, they bought the entirety of Fox. Like, Disney bought the entirety of Fox for about the same money. Like Fox and 20th Century Fox and like all that empire. Like, it's mad. Like, it's inconceivable. Some of these are and it's weird that it hasn't leaked. Like, usually the stuff you would hear rumblings. It's weird that it was just dropped, like, as you said, Dom, on a random Tuesday. It's like, hey, we bought this. What? Like, this is something that we should be hearing about, like, since November last year. It's like, oh, they're kind of rumbling that they're going to buy Activision. Like, really? No, there's no way they're going to buy Activision. This is crazy. But now it's just I went to get a drink, and then I came back. I was like, oh, Microsoft is buying Activision. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it was about an hour before. No, it was about an hour before it got fully confirmed.
Yeah,
like there was things happening, and it was like, oh my god. My mate messaged me, Microsoft's gonna buy Activision. I was like, what? You think what? Like what?
Can you imagine?
And then it just happened.
Imagine, like, about over Christmas or something. I mean, coming after the holiday as well. That's when, a month ahead, when things usually leak. Whatever, it's been too busy. Everyone's been away.
Yeah.
But like, imagine if someone tried to leak this and someone like sent you a surreptitious email being like, "Oh, Microsoft's going to buy Activision." You'd be like, "No, they're not." Like, what planet are you on? Like,
my uncle works at Nintendo. Yeah, okay, dude.
And that's it.
Right.
Yeah, I've exhausted my notes. Now I've got nothing else to say, really. I did say what is PlayStation's move now or next, but honestly, I was of course taking a piss when I said Sony's gonna buy Microsoft. But as we said, Tuesday afternoon, this happens. Sony could do absolutely anything. I don't know who's worth more. Sony or Microsoft, like in general?
Microsoft can buy like 3 Sonys tomorrow. Sony's nothing compared to Microsoft, yes.
Swear? Oh, shit. Well, who knows? Microsoft might buy Sony.
They can afford it. They can technically afford it.
Who knows?
If we're talking,
in about 5 years' time, we'll all be sitting there playing on our Microsoft PlayStations and thinking,
yeah,
there you go. That don't sound too bad, to be honest. That don't even sound as bad as people might think.
Yes, it is. Like, no, keep Sony independent. What the hell? I don't care. I don't like more shit on Game Pass. I want, like, let them compete. Let them make cool stuff. We don't want everything. I like Phil Spencer, but like, come on now. Like, this is.
You're an advocate for the console wars, Sherif. Is that what you're saying?
It's not the console wars competition, man. Like, let them do. I want every Sony game on PC as well. Like, I love their games. I don't want to buy like an expensive box that sits under my TV that I use once a year. But this is the system that we have. So this is the system that produces, competing products. So I'm okay with that for now. But if everything is owned by one company, like that's not long term. That's not good.
I think
healthy,
back to, like, when this happened before, when there was two companies in like Sega and Nintendo, that didn't end well for anyone at the time. Like they lived their life. There's a bit of like back and forward, and there's a bit of a golden age, and it very quickly falls to crap when the competition gets so bad and like bad games start getting pushed out just because they want something out and things like that. You need more than two. Like it just doesn't work. Think of political parties. You need more than two, really. Like otherwise, it all stagnates and it doesn't go anywhere. It just you torn between one or the other, and it all becomes very binary, and the binary is largely useless, I think. So I think that's what I think. I agree with Sherif. I think diversification of creative input is important and essential for a healthy, forward-looking industry.
Yeah.
But for the better of everyone, we need Sony. Like for the better of everyone, we need all these companies just to be independent. Forget the exclusive, forget all that stuff. Like just creatively, like these people need to be flying their own flag and then doing stuff and learning from each other, and not just all contributing to one thing, one conglomerate. Like it's.
Yeah, I like Sony more anyway. I'm a Sony fanboy.
And you can say that. Imagine not being able to say that anymore. Imagine being able. Well, I like Sony. We both like Sony because we're part of the same company. I like Fox. Sure. Deadpool. Fucking A. Disney.
Yeah. We are going into... This looks like the start of some really weird times for games. Games have been evolving in the consumer way, like the games we play, but behind the scenes. Because this news, I feel, to the general public, people who just buy the 1-2 games a year, this is going to just go nowhere for them. They're going to hear it and then this is going to go nowhere. But if you work or are super interested in games, you're going to see this shape a landscape, I think, going forward. I've got nothing else to say, boys. Feel free to...
Historic deal for sure. I think, the implications of that will be felt for like years to come. We're now kind of talking about like kind of the very limited scope of like, where's Call of Duty going to be? But I think in a few years from now, it's going to be just, maybe Infinity Ward will make a completely, like maybe all these Call of Duty studios will make other stuff. Like it's just like the implications are just grand in a way that I don't think we're even prepared for. Like just the number of these teams and all that talent. Imagine like having freedom to do what they want. Oh my God. Like it's just.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm as cautious as I am about how this is going to work on a business level, like the actual merger and how it's going to free up some teams, impact other teams. I'm hoping there won't be any layoffs, but Microsoft don't tend to do that when they acquire. I'm also kind of super jazzed about the future of Game Pass and where that's going, and what that means for consumers, because I do think Game Pass generally is a very consumer-friendly thing. So I'm hoping that continues to be the case and Microsoft doesn't get a bit complacent and ruin a very good thing that it's got with this. But, interesting times ahead. Like, what a start to 2022! Like, which sets the tone, doesn't it?
Man.
Could not make that up.
Yeah, but as you said, I feel like we're not going to hear anything about this until a little bit further down the line. It's like, holy shit! But whoa, we're gonna have to wait a little bit to see what really happens. Great stuff, man. Great stuff. It's interesting. I think it excites me more than it concerns me. Yeah, excites me more than it concerns me. Good chat, boys.
Yeah, no worries. I think it's going to be exciting to see what the financial results for Microsoft and Activision look like when they drop around April this year. I think we're going to learn a bit more about possibly the future and the shape of things then. So that's the next big thing on the story, I reckon.
We're going to be watching them like hawks now. Everyone's going to be looking at the financial reports like, well, how much money you guys got? Because you spent that much there. So who's selling drugs here? What's going on? Yeah, sweet. That closes out this conversation. This has been Dorrani, Dom, and Sherif from VG247.com. Make sure you go and check out the website. Like, subscribe, comment. Let us know what you think of this whole thing. If you made it this far in this video, let us know, because there's so many thoughts and opinions where this can go.
Yeah.
Sweet.
See you soon.
Peace out.
Cheers, guys.